This is the second tutorial on the guitar parts from my cover of the Feast and the Famine. This is the one you see on the right hand side of the video that comes in with the overdub. So there's quite a lot to get through again, a few little lead bits, lots of rhythm to play, so let's start at the start. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is sit and wait. We're not going to do anything on the song until a full round of the verse has gone by. So you've got the other guitars taking out the intro and the verse, and we're going to come in with an overdub part that sounds like this. Now what's going on here, probably on the original, I suspect that we've got two parts and then a higher guitar part that's just one note. But as I've said before, the whole point of this has been to try and create something that sounds like the song, not necessarily what is note for note what each guitar played, because then you're not going to be able to achieve it in a covers band with two guitarists. And so what I've done is condense those parts down to make it playable on one guitar. So the first part is 7 on the thick string and 6 on the A string, and it comes in just like on the other video. I've gone into the rhythm in depth. It comes in on the and of beat 4, so it's and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. So it's completely mirroring our, it's tracing over the top of it. And the next chord is quite stretchy. What we've got is 3 on the thick string, which is the note G, and we've got the note E here at the 7th fret of the A string. So that is a bit of a stretch. You know, it's not too bad. We can go further if we need to, but you might find if you're not too advanced with your stretching yet that might be as far as you can go. It might not. You might not be able to quite make that. If that's the case, what I'd suggest is that you play 3 on the thick string and then 2 on the A string. It still sounds pretty good. This is what it'd sound like the first way. I'll do it to what I actually played. The second way I'll do the easier variation. So you don't lose too much, but it doesn't sound quite as good. Stretches are, you know, a really interesting thing. You'll be convinced if you can't already do that stretch that your hand just isn't big enough. I get loads of students say it to me all the time, my hand's not big enough. Your hands are big, mine aren't big enough. And often if I make them put their hand up to mine, they've got a bigger hand. You know, so it really is a case of those tendons and joints just need time to get used to stretch. So keep at it. So we're going to do that run twice, just like in the verse that the other guitar's playing. You're going to loop the G to B movement, B to G movement twice, and then we're going to, when the other guitar goes down to an E chord, we're going to go to this shape. So now it's 3 notes. It's the open E string, it's the 7th fret of the A string, the second finger, and then it's the 6th fret of the D string with your first finger. And again, we're going to do this twice. Okay, on to the heavy chorus. It sounds like this. So that was the first little bit of it, but that provides the theme that we're going to use for the rest of it. Okay, so we're starting off down here with a B power chord. That is 2 on the A string, 4 on the D with your third finger, 4 on the G with your fourth finger. And we're going to start this with an upstroke, that's the down, and then it's up, down. So rhythmically, again, it's pushed just like everything else in the song. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2, and 1, and 2. That's what you've got. And then the next strum, which is going to be a down, you're going to take your first finger off, so the A string's now open. And then it's up, down, with it back on. So. And then we're going to do that again. Down, off, up, down. So so far. And then we're going to do 3 strums, down, down, and then on the up, we're going to catch this G power chord. So this is 3, 5, 5 on the fixed string 3, A string 5, D string 5. So we've gone. And then the next strum of this chord is going to be an up. We're not going to be taking the first finger off on this chord. So this is up, down, 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 down. So from the start. Then to finish off, you can do a down strum just on the open strings, which sounds terrible, but you're not going to be on it for long. This is the Smells Like Teen Spirit trick. In the start of Smells Like Teen Spirit, you hear. It sounds wicked, doesn't it? It sounds great. You hear though in there, if you slow it right down, bits where there's just horrible open notes, but they go by so quick, your ear never picks up on them. Now if it did that, you'd be like, oh, that's horrid, but it doesn't, it goes. So you're immediately past the nasty note. So we've got down strum, open, and then you go up to 10th fret power chord. So this is 10 on the E, 12 on the A, 12 on the D, and it's up, down, up, and you slide off. Okay, whole thing. We're now going to come back in, this time on the offbeat of beat 1. So 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 2. So you can see I'm using the same, there's 2 strums, up, down, normal, and then we've got that same down with it off, up, down with it on. So, and again 3 strums, up on the G, and this time it's up, down, down, up, down. And then we're going to do one last down and then shift up 2 frets. So this is an A power chord, 5, 7, 7. So I've gone down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. So let's try the second half again. Excellent. Then we're going to move down to an E. Just open chord, so it's 2 on the A string, 2 on the D string, 1 on the G, open E string, and this is up, down, down, down. And what you do is you can take these 2 fingers off, so very briefly they're open, the A and D string are open, and it's going to go 1, and then the notes back on, and 2 and 3. So we've gone. And again, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down. Then we're going to come back in on the beat, down, up, down, down, up, down. And then again the same thing, notes off, down, up, down, up, down. So that E chord sounds like this, start to finish. And then right at the end you hear like you're going to kind of just fret the notes up here, hit them and slide down. So there we go, rock and roll. It's important in those gaps, you want to be cutting the notes out, especially if you've got a lot of distortion on, you don't want notes ringing out because those cuts are meant to be sharp and precise. So from the start of the chorus, and we play this really slow, there's lots in there. It's hard to teach this stuff. It's because it's quite a long section. I know it's hard for you to take everything in, but look, you can rewind this. Once it's up, it's up. You can take your time, go over it a few times, use the tab. Right, nice and slow first, then we're going to try it up to speed. okay, and up to speed. Onto the heavy verse. Now this is very similar to what we did in the first verse and what the other guitars do, and we're still following the BG movement. There are some variations, but the main thing here is that we are playing it with power chords just to really beef it all up. So we're now got a B power chord, 2, 4, 4, that's 2 on the A string, 4 on the D, 4 on the G, and it's going to go. So this time we started on the beat, 1 on 2 on 3 on 4 on 1 on 2 on 3 and half beat rest up to the G on the 3rd fret on the E string, and it's starting on the up, starting on the off beat again. 1 on 2 on 3 on 4 on 1 on 2 on 3 and back to the B, and 1 on 2 on 3 on 4 on 1 on 2 on 3 and back to the G, and 1 on 2 on 3 on 4 on 1 on 2 on 3, and this time we're going to go up to the A chord, and it's 3 strums up, down, up. So let's look it up to there. Okay, now I was doing that alternate strumming. If you want to make it sound even heavier, do them all down. You get a much more aggressive sound from a down strum, so you can try that. Okay, after our A chord, we're going to move on. We've now got just an E power chord, so it's 0, 2, 2, and it's going to go up, down, down, up, down, up, notes off, and then up, down, up, with them back on. So that's. And then we're going to go up, down, up, down, up, down, up, and then off again, down, up, down, up, down. So that was. Moving quickly on, we're now into the second round of the verse, second round of the heavy verse. Now, at this point, it's still heavy, but we've got like an extra bit of harmony going on that's similar to the overdubs we started with at the start of the song. So I thought we'll switch to this bit because it's more fun than just sticking on the same thing. And also, we've got a really cool part that goes on here. So this is what it's going to sound like. Okay, so let's break it down. What we've got is the same BG movement, but you've got a rising note at the top of it. So the first time it's there, and then it's there. Now that's what we did in the first time, but this time we're going to add that note, and then on the G. Really clever, really nice. Let's have a look what we've got. We've got 7 and 6, just like at the start. Then 3 and 7, and then the first new one. So this time it's 7, 6, 4. So I'm using my 4th finger for the 7, 3rd finger for the 6, 1st finger for the 4. Same, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and then from there we just need to go to a G power chord. So now it's 3, 5, 5. And at the end we're going to go and 4 and. Okay, so that was our 5th fret power chord, 5, 7, 7. So once more the whole bit. We're now going to go back and repeat the A section just as we did before. Before going back to the heavy chorus. And all of that good stuff. So that heavy chorus is played just as it was before, and we don't come across anything new there. So let's skip to the next bit, which comes just after that chorus. Right, on to the middle section now. What we've got is an interesting 2-bar riff. It's a 2-bar motif. Now, the the notes are 5 on the E string and 7 on the E string, and what you're going to be doing is mixing pick notes with hammer-ons. So you pick the first note and hammer on the 7, and then you're going to pick 4 more times on that 7. So that's 1 and 2 and 3 and that's your first little chunk. You can do that chunk again, and then we're well into the second bar now, because it says it's a 2-bar pattern. In order to make it add up, we then we start playing it again, but we have to cut it short at the end. So this time it's just pick, hammer, and then 2 strums. So we've gone like this. So that's 2 bars, 8 beats worth. Okay, we're going to play that 8 times, that riff, all the way through. And then we are going to move down and just play the 5th fret this time. The rhythm is still just 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, and you can do that for 2 bars. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Then we're going to play our friend, the riff, once more. Okay, we're on to some octaves now. This is over the breakdown section, which is the E minor to B major chords that you hear. Now, there's lots of lead going on. Absolutely loads of lead. There are other bits, and I've realised in making this tutorial that I actually didn't play one part that I had written down in the tab. Clever Will, I can only blame it on the fact that I was probably running on 2 hours sleep in order to get the video done and looking cool for you all, so please forgive me. I'm going to show you what I would have played, and I'll tell you what I did play. So it's not so much that I missed anything out, it's more a case that there are several guitars playing these melody lines, and I'd picked out a more interesting one in the tab and then forgot to play it when I recorded it. So what we've got is an octave up at the 10th fret on the A string, which is the note G, and then you're going to mute D string and then play 12 on the G string, and we're going to do 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 bars. And then we're going to go back to 9. Same amount, so now it's 9, 11. Now, in the video I then just did that same thing again. However, you can pick out a more interesting part which goes 10 for half a bar, 1 and 2 and, back to 9 for the other half of the bar, 3 and 4 and then back up to 10, 1 and 2 and then this time down to 7 and 9, 3 and 4 and. So let me play that. And then from there we go back up to 9, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So like I said, yeah, you can try that, but that wasn't quite what I played. Clever Will. Right, this next bit, this is tricky. This is the fast bit. Now, all the other bits were 8th notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and the pulse is quite fast. It's about 170 BPM, I think, off the top of my head. Now we're going to go to 16th notes. This is now 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 4 notes per beat, and the beat is fast. So we start at the 10th fret, 1 E and a 2 E and a, okay, and you do a full, you're going to just do those 2 beats worth, and then move up to the 12th fret. Key to this, keep your wrist nice and loose. And make sure your muting's good, otherwise you're going to get loads of open strings. And then we're going to go up to the 14. So we're still on the A and G strings here. And from there we're going to drop down to the next string pair, which is 14 on the D string, mute the G string, and then it's 17 on the B string. So that same amount, 1 E and a 2 E and a. So we've gone like this. And we're going to end off with some cool bends. So what I'm doing is what's called a unison bend to start off with. So that is 12th fret on the B string, your first finger. That's the note we're aiming for with the bend. So you're going to be bending 14 up on the G string, the string above it, and you're going to hit them both together. So what you notice is it starts off really clashing, and then as the bend goes up and hits the unison note, it sounds like it becomes one note again. So So you do that, and then you're going to repick the single note on the B string again. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. So 7 times basically. I'm doing down pick for the unison bend, up pick for the single B note. Then we're going to have a slight rest, so it's a full bar, nearly most of another bar as well, before we come back in with a heavy chorus. This time we're going to go back to what I've called the alternate chorus. Okay, so we've got what sounds like a normal chorus. This time it goes straight back to the B. And just like the guitar did, we're going to move up here and we're going to play an A chord. So now it's a 5, 7, 7, 6. And we're going to do that up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And then on the next up, we've moved it up 2 more frets to make it a B major. Up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. So that whole alternate chorus sounds like this. From there we're going to go back into our middly breakdown octaves, sorry, or octaves. We can copy exactly what we did before for that, luckily. At this time, after your bends, you've got a full the bends end on beat 3 of the bar, so you've got that last beat, and you've got full 2 bars of nothing. Now, this is quite confusing because the other guitar is going to be coming in, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and it keeps on going. And you need to keep track of where you are and come in on the beat against what you think the other guitar's doing. And what you can play is something very similar that sounds like this. Let's figure out. So. So before showing you the notes, let's just talk about that gap. Okay, so I think the best way to do that gap is to keep a count as you're playing the unison bends. So you're thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I knew where beat 1 was there. And it's quite a long time. You've got to hold your nerve as you do this count. And try and think of it this way: the other guitar's trying to put you off. He's doing that weird rhythm that kind of got the emphasis on the offbeat. Ignore him. You've got to absolutely try and put it out of your mind. Keep your own count. You're playing your own game here. So let's have a look at that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So that's what you've got to do. It's not easy, but that's a way of doing it. So let's look at the notes. Okay, we've got our first finger at the 7th fret on the high E string. And we've got our 3rd finger at the 10th fret of the B string. And then our little finger at the 11th fret of the G. So 3 notes, but a 4-note pattern, just like we did for the intro riff in the other guitar. So it's middle note, the 10, then the low note, the 11, then the high note, the 7, and then the 11 again. And you're going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and you can do that 8 times. So keep track. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we're going to end with our middle riff again. and you can do that 3 times through the whole 2-bar middle riff. We're going to end with some stabs now. Now you can do these as octaves or power chords. It's on a B, so it's 7, miss the A string, 9 if you do it as octaves. And if you want to do it as power chord, you're just going to put that A string note back in. You can play another 9, so it'll be 7, 9. What I'd probably recommend, you're trying to make this really hard and heavy now. You finish a song, you're really happy, you're relieved. You've nailed the hard rhythm bit. You weren't put off with the guitar. You've done your fast strumming and your unison bends. Everyone thinks you're the hero. So this is the bit where you can get excited because the song's done. You've done the hard work. You've got through it. So what I do, I start with the octave, and gradually, about halfway through, I make it into the power chord so it feels a bit heavier, and really start hammering it. And the rhythm is this. Probably easy to show you the directions. Down, 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 up, miss, miss, down, down. One more time. Down, 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 up, down, down. And that is it. You've done it. You're the winner.